Oh, look at that. I don't know. We had everything set up in tech, and then everything just went a little silly. So, everyone, Lynx Kim. Lynx Kim, everyone. Oh, fantastic.
Well, here we are.
So, welcome, Wanderers. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Lynx Kim.
Hey, guys.
He's right there. So, we're just going to do this exceedingly low tech because the higher, nicer tech is not working like we wanted it to, which, is always what's desirable.
But that's how this works. That's how this... You put higher tech in, it's going to fall flat.
That's right. Well, I will start off with a question for you, Mr. Lynx.
Sure.
So, Lynx, you've been on circuit for a little while now, and the question I'm sure everyone wants to hear is, how did you get started? And I'm going to try and see if I can get our other camera to behave itself. So, I will be right back.
Good question. I will answer that question. Before I do, though, welcome to my humble abode. This is my fifth wheel. We are at the Arizona Renaissance Festival. I have been doing performance for close to 39 years, which is a long time to doing it. I started when I was young, roughly around the age of 10. I was street performing, stuff like that. And as I was getting older and running through, and this is the abbreviated version because this is very long and complicated. But as I got older, when I turned like 15, I met a gentleman that worked the Renaissance Festivals way before I did.
Yeah.
And then ended up teaching me everything I know. So, started swallowing swords roughly about the age of 17. Learned how to work a crowd and a stage. Right after that, went everywhere from San Francisco to Boulder to Faneuil Hall to Key West, New Orleans, just everywhere. So, but I'm 51 now. So roughly around 39 years of performances.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So friends, we've got Lynx with us tonight. So all of you who are watching at home, hop on the comments. If you have any questions, we're here for it. So, and we'll even have a trick that the folks can take part of at home.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do a trick today. And for those of you that are at home, if you have a pen and paper, it's basic math. 1 + 1. If you can do that, you're doing great.
All right, let's see if we can get our cameras are not behaving. So, the heartbreak of it all. Oh, well. All right, well, this is our camera. So,
now, I don't know if you guys know this, but he did like a good solid 15-20 minutes of getting the camera set, getting it visually right, putting tabs in, and now we're reduced to this.
Well, the fun thing about live, and we know this as performers, is you come into it, you do your tech, you do your warm-ups, you get ready, and then stuff happens, and you're just resourceful.
This is it.
Yep.
So,
does everybody have a pen and paper at home? We'll wait a little bit. We'll banter a little bit more about how, you make plans and God laughs. So yeah, Oak and Raven. Creatures on our hikes, which actually Lynx has been on a number of hikes with me now.
Oh yeah.
So we have seen we've seen a lot of small lizards. We have seen no snakes yet.
No, that's not true.
That's not true. We saw a garter snake.
We
saw a garter snake. But we haven't seen anything that counts as exciting for me because I am again looking for diamondbacks.
And and I'm always on the search for dead things,
that's true,
like bones and things like that.
Check the underbrush.
Mm-hmm.
So we have seen a few vultures, mostly on site. There was one. Did you see the one that was on the shop, across the way from your stage on Sunday?
No, It was one that I think somebody told me about it.
It stopped traffic. There was okay, so Lynx has his own stage here at Arizona Renaissance Festival, the Carnival stage, and so like there's a couple of like little kiosks in between his stage and the actual booths across the lane, but one of the food booths, like on the end of that row of food booths, there was a vulture just hanging out on the roof, and it stopped traffic in the fair like it was a show. It's like, this isn't the Royal Falconer, it's a vulture. It's not. It's just hanging out. It's not doing anything.
Is that what it is?
No.
Because I thought somebody had told me
the Falconer's vulture got away.
Got away.
Oh.
And that's where it landed.
I stand corrected. That could have been it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're getting two different. Who knows? But that's what I was told. So.
I just know what I walked into, and it was like, oh yeah, there's a vulture just chilling there. But that would make sense, especially if it's the vulture that I think it is.
Yeah.
She's not terribly let's say she doesn't have a lot of self-control when it comes to food. So, well, it looks like we have a number of people that have pen and paper. So without further ado, a trick via Mr. Lynx, and I will back up and give him the floor.
Wow, you're going to turn the camera and everything.
Yeah. We have the technology.
Because the other one's not working.
That's right. We sort of have the technology. We mostly have the technology.
So here's what everybody's going to do at home. This was popularized by a famous magician named Max Maven, who has now left this plane of existence. He was a mentalist. He was on Carson and HBO specials and all sorts of fun, wonderful shows that he'd been in. He was in X-Files and like all these things. So this is actually an homage trick. He popularized this. So what you're going to do is simple. You're going to think of a number between 1 and 10. Okay? I want you to write that number down. Once you have that number, you're going to take that number and multiply it by 9. So take a few seconds to do that. If you have to count on your fingers, it's fine. I do it all the time. I'm a very bad short Asian person. I don't Asian math well.
No one does public math well.
Anyway, so you're gonna multiply that by 9. Once you get your answer, you are going to add the 2 digits together. So say, for instance, it was 54. You would add it up. It was 36. You would add it up. However you want to do it. Just add those 2 numbers together. Okay? Now with your new answer, you're going to subtract 5. All right? From that new answer, you're going to subtract 5. Okay? Once you've subtracted 5, and I'll slow down from here, with the new number that you have, you're going to think of a corresponding letter. So A equals, A is 1, B is 2, 3 is C, etc., etc., etc. Okay? All right, so once you have your letter, you're going to take that letter and you're going to think of a country. And not a state. A lot of people try to do states. Don't do states. You're going to think of a country like Norway, Sweden, France, whatever that starts with that letter. Okay? Now, once you have that, you're going to take the second letter in that country's name and think of an animal. Okay? So, once you get the animal, you're going to think of the color of the animal. All right? Okay, so now to recap. Now you have a country, you have an animal, and you have a color of that animal. And I want you to think about it over and over in your mind. Keep that animal and that country locked into your head. Keep that there. Don't let go of it. If it's a gray elephant in Denmark, keep that in your head. And if it hit, let us know in the comments. If it didn't, that's fine too. Mentalism is not perfect, but hopefully something good came out of this. So that's the trick for the night.
There you have it, folks. A gray elephant in Denmark. So, There we are. There's our new angle.
Yeah.
There's our new angle and our
angle.
new camera. So, a question that I ask everybody on circuit when I get a chance to talk to them is, what is something about the Arizona festival that you love about it that you can only find here?
Aside from the desert wanting to kill you.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Just saying. The one thing that I will say about the Arizona Renaissance Festival is the desert. Because most places you go to, they're either in the woods or they're surrounded by these luscious trees. But this is the one fair that you go to, and it's cactuses. It's nothing but a sea of cactuses and Joshua trees. But I will say that the mountain ranges here are incredible.
Yeah.
For scenery. The fair itself, the fact that it's located in the middle of a desert, you get to see all these wonderful creatures come out and interact with the fair in ways you do not expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that, and I think that is my favorite part about it. Is that we are literally in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Pretending that we're in England, which is weird. But yeah. Oh, do we got any questions?
Well, yeah. So we had a purple elephant in Denmark.
Okay.
We had an eel.
An eel.
Rather than an elephant. We had an egret in Denmark.
Yeah, okay.
That was white. So.
All right. Like I said, it wasn't foolproof, but at least we got Denmark. I feel I'm going to take the win on that.
Yeah. So, and Lori was noting that it's Australia that everything wants to kill you, which is also a lot of desert.
Yeah.
It must be said. So,
I think any kind of desert, it's there to kill you. It's like, the world's way of saying,
don't come here.
Don't come here. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. If you want to die, go there. That's fine.
Yeah. Lauren had...
Hey, there we go. Nice.
Anyway. So, yeah. Well, maybe another question is, like, what are some other festivals around the country that you love performing at?
So I've done this for a while now, and I've got to perform at quite a few festivals. And oddly enough, my favorite festival is not a permanent festival. So you have festivals with permanent structures, and then you have festivals that are pop-up festivals, and they're tent festivals. If I was to put these in order and I was to give you my top 4, we'll just say 4 for whatever. At the very top.
We're not counting down?
Should I count down?
I mean, if you're going to rank, we might as well count down.
Okay, we'll count down.
I mean, save the best for last.
Okay, that's true.
Keep people in suspense.
All right, so if I was going to do it, boy, oh boy. Okay. There's a lot of hardships in this one because there's ones that I don't want to piss off.
Well, I mean, maybe don't say, like, rank them. Then, like, maybe just say, like, what are some ones that you really enjoy?
Okay, so the ones that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a better way of putting it.
Because let's face it, I mean, we love performing at every fair. It's just some of them stand out a lot more, so...
Yeah, so the one that stands out, the ones that I think stand out to me are, I've got SoCal, and the reason why is because I'm a beach baby. I love the water, and anything water-wise, I get locked up into it. So that is probably one of my top favorites, along with Oregon. Oregon's amazing. If you've not been to Oregon, you gotta go.
Well, and more reason for folks to go to Oregon this year. I'm going to be there too.
Yes.
So Mark and I, as you may remember if you've seen the show before, my musical partner Mark Williams and I will also be at Oregon this year for our first time, and we're very much looking forward to it. Not the least of which because we're going to be hanging out with our friends while we're there. So,
I would say Oregon is high up on my list. Maryland is another one high on my list, and for Maryland, it's a different reason.
Yeah.
I think when you go to that show, particularly, it's they vet their vendors pretty hardcore. So
yeah.
you know when you go there, you're getting stuff that's really truly handcrafted. You're not getting something that's bought third party or something like that. So
Yeah.
I love that aspect about it. And it is a no hat pass show, so you won't see any of the performers passing their hat. They have their way of compensating them, and then it's just a very friendly show. It's really friendly, ridiculously friendly. So that's on the upper bracket of fairs.
So we got SoCal, Oregon, Maryland,
and then man, this one is it's a tie. It's a tie for right now. But the tie is Tuxedo and Bristol. And they're both great in their own right. And they have a lot of different things to offer.
So what's a standout thing that you love about New York?
New York is the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people there they're super friendly.
Yeah.
And they know theater.
Oh, right on.
That's the thing.
Well, I mean, it's really close to Broadway, so yeah.
Yeah. So when you go see a show, when you go to New York, they're there to see performances, and whether it's music, whether it's a variety show, whether it's commedia of some sort, they're there for that.
Yeah.
And they're very prompt. That is the one thing I will say about all the fairs is when you tell somebody, oh, this show's going to be at 11:45. Most fairs, people show up 2 minutes after, 10 minutes before, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When you do a show in New York, they're there at 11:45. It doesn't change. They're prompt. Everybody's rushing in to get their seats.
Do you think that has anything to do with being in close proximity to like one of the best public transit systems in the country?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And and you're right. They're theater goers.
Yeah.
Like you got Broadway, you got off Broadway, you got all these things that happen there, and they're very acclimated to punctuality to these things. Yeah, I will say that's the one thing about New York that I love is that they're just punctual and.
Right on.
They just love watching people do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. So before we move on, what about Bristol? What's the thing about Bristol that stands out?
Cheese.
Which better because Wisconsin.
It's Wisconsin. No. Yeah. The thing about Bristol is again, you got one of those points where the audience is loving. They really do stick with you as a hardcore fan.
Yeah.
Once you build them, they stay. They don't go anywhere. They love. They're very particular about what shows they love, though. So yeah. I've been there now. This will be going on my 9th year.
All right.
And even on my 9th year, I still have to gather my audience.
Oh wow.
Whereas if you were watching a Bruin or a Mooney show, they do nothing. They just show up.
Oh wow.
That's how hardcore dedicated they are.
Wow. Like the audience just knows where to go.
They just know where to go, what time, I mean, it's like the joust.
Right.
So, but as an entertainer, you hope to get to that level.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like you can sit backstage and then walk out and your entire arena's filled.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. So that the dedication, they're a lot more. How do I say this? Jovial when it comes to interacting with you.
Oh, right on.
So they're very much. It's like if the theater kids that got rejected from New York went there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so they're all there. And that's I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying you know they're all there. So and they love playing and interacting with the cast and everything. So yeah, good
Cool.
things about that place.
All right. So it looks like we got a couple questions from home.
Oh,
From the folks at home. So Oaken Raven has the question, what do you look for in a fair you want to perform at?
oh, that is a good question. My biggest thing is how the fair is run. Right.
Yeah.
I look at how the fair is run. I look at from the management point of view.
Right.
And how well they treat the people that have been there, prior to me. So I will ask around. I will deep dive and look into and ask people like, well, what's it like there? Do they treat you well? Do they pay well? I mean, obviously that one, but like, and then on top of that, it's like, what's the atmosphere like?
Yeah.
Because I think, when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, you want to feel like you accomplished something with their guests, but you also want to make sure that management made you feel like you accomplished something.
Like it actually matters that you're there. Like they're happy to have you there much as the patrons.
As much as the patrons.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of. That's why I like Oregon so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the through lines that I'm hearing through everything that you said, like whatever else is going on, it's like there's a really special thing that happens at all the best Ren fairs where the whole community and like the patrons, the cast, the crew, the entertainers, everybody that's part of it is like, when it's done right, everybody feels like their job matters and that they're part of something bigger and special.
Right. Yeah, and and that's I mean, between Oregon and Maryland, they both do that. Like the Smiths at Maryland make all the way down to the garbage people. Mm-hmm. They make them feel good about what they're doing. The people that clean the porta potties. I've seen those owners jump in and clean porta potties. Like you rarely see that from an owner. Yeah. And the same, like with Oregon, I remember, so Melissa and Vitali, who are on Cirque du Soleil, if you've never seen them, you have to check them out. They're all over YouTube. They've got America's Got Talent credits, things like that.
World records?
World records, yeah, Guinness records. But I remember we share a stage there, and we're kind of like the headliners for that fair. And one year, Melissa showed up and she was like, that stage is way too small for her rope walking and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, it needs to at least be 6 feet longer. And the following morning, it was 6 feet longer.
That's awesome.
It's that fast. Uh-oh. Says we're buffering again.
Well,
and we're back.
Hey, friends. So the good news is there will be a version of this that I'm going to post up on YouTube that will have no buffering. So you will be able to see this uninterrupted and recorded locally on my laptop. We have another question.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest trick to learn, and are you working on any new ones? So that's two questions for the price of one. So let's start with the hardest trick in your repertoire.
The sword swallowing.
Just generally?
Just generally. That will always be the hardest trick. Because it's a lot of teaching yourself how to relax and then doing it on a moment's notice.
Yeah.
So you're interacting with your brain in a different way than like if you were like, like if I'm picking up an object, my brain knows that I'm picking up this object really, really fast and it can do it on its own. But when you're swallowing a sword, you have to concentrate to really get yourself to do that.
Yeah.
That will be always the hardest one.
Yeah.
In the show. And then couple that with like if you're doing other stunts on top of that,
right?
Then
which he does.
then you have a lot more things to worry and consider.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the sword swallowing is always going to be the toughest. As far as new ones,
yeah.
Ooh, I do have some new stunts. I thought I was going to have them ready for this week, but unfortunately I won't. Um, and maybe next week I'll have these ready. Um, Back in my day, I used to throw cards and used to hit targets and things like that. And so I'm bringing that back to the show. Um, it's got a lot of funny one-liners, and then I've had well, you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
Is I've got my section with the whoopee cushion. So, so those are the two new add-ons for this year. And the reason why I chose those two specifically is because you won't see those on the circuit at all, at all. And I like to try to keep myself in a realm of like, well, this is not being done here, because
Yeah.
the moment you start repeating somebody else's stuff, it gets kind of and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that to elevate, you always want to keep going a little bit higher,
Yeah, I mean, something I think about a lot, and I think this is true of any art. The people, I think the people who are most interesting are the people who look out and they see what other people are doing, and then they wonder like, oh, why isn't somebody doing this thing? And they see not like necessarily how they improve on something, like they're not trying to innovate, they just see a vacancy.
yeah.
And like even being able to see that void and like knowing how to do something with it, I think is like the difference between like somebody who's just engaged in the craft and somebody who's engaging in the art, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes total sense. I think you got another.
Oh, we do. Okay, so we have kind of a follow-up to that.
Yes, we do.
Is it hard to keep uniqueness and interest on the circuit?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. There's a basic pattern that I think most performers include, and I put myself in that bracket too, is where you get comfortable.
Yeah.
You get comfortable, so you perform the same stunts, for like 9 years and never change it. And the thought process behind that is that your fans at the specifically Renaissance festivals, I don't know how it is everywhere else, but here, the reason why they come back is because you did this certain stunt, you did this certain thing, and they
Sure.
or you played this certain song, and they're telling their friends about it, so they want to bring their friends to see that certain thing.
Yeah, they want the hits.
They want the hits, right? And so there is a form of complacency that happens, and I'm guilty of it. You know, as far as interacting and putting new things together, and I think it was like music, is that what it said? Is like,
Well, that's another question.
oh,
So the next question after that is, were you ever interested in performing music as part of your fair act or otherwise?
so I'm not a good musician. I'm just gonna put that out there. All right, I have 2 ukuleles and a drum somewhere around here, and I can barely play those. But as far as music goes, I did have a bongo player a while back in the show. I do like to incorporate music though, so when I can, I do. Which Jeremy and I have talked about this thing. So in Oregon,
We're teasing this out now?
we should tease a little.
Okay.
There should be something fun there. I'll just say that.
Something a little extra from both of us
Yes.
and Mark.
Yes.
We're in the middle of R&D right now, friends. So,
Yeah.
yeah. That's all we're going to say about that right now.
I'm like, it's hard for me because I know that I'm like Toby, what's his name that always leaks the Spider-Man stuff?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. Like, I have to like really like keep that honed in, and I always forget.
That's right, spoilers. So we're going to move on to the next question before he drops the whole thing. But Judith wants to know, what do you do as downtime activities?
Well, that is a great question. I very much like robotics and robotics engineering. I do a lot of 3D printing and like FDM and resin printing. I make I don't know. I just like to make stuff. You know, like
Well, you make your own merch.
yeah, I make my own merch as well. But on my off time, when I'm not like doing that kind of stuff, I like to just to tinker. I'm very much a tinker. So like right now, you guys can't see this, but in my place, like I have a paint booth.
I mean, we could pan around if you want to give them the
Yeah,
tour.
I don't know if they want the tour right now. This is
Okay.
but you know, and I've got a robot that's been disassembled that I've been painting all week.
No, disassemble.
You know, but that's my life. I'm pretty private, so I don't really, if I post on social media, it's like, well, lately it's been like quite a bit, but like normally it's like once a month, you know. So that's what I do on my off time. I'm a nerd, a big nerd.
He makes stuff.
Make stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly Star Wars stuff.
I see no problems with that. Oh, okay. So speaking of cool stuff that Lynx makes, he's made a lot of props. He's made a lot of like movie perfect screen replicas of like Ghostbusters props.
Oh yeah.
And even has like a cool costume that has his name on the name tag. But the cool thing is he made an Ecto-1, friends, like a replica of the actual like Ghostbusters mobile from the first movie, which is pretty rad.
Yeah, I got one in storage that I'm working on that needs to come out because that's going to be my big project. I have this 1959 Meteor Miller hearse that is kind of dilapidated now, but I'll get to it.
Oh yeah, Judith, it's full size. It's a car. It runs. It's got like the siren and the whole thing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one that was here last year, because we did have the Ecto here last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from the 2016 movie with the whole female cast. That actually belonged to a friend of mine that's out in Maryland right now. His name's Duncan. But we did the restoration project for that to get it ready for the opening for RenCon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now I have this Meteor Miller that I'm working on, which is the actual body for the car, and it's a rust bucket, but we're gonna get it there. It's gonna take me a few years.
I mean, that's like when Ray Stantz lists off all the stuff that's needed in the original movie. I mean, it's
wiring, suspension.
Right. All you're doing is you're just repeating their results.
That's true. That's all I'm doing.
You just didn't buy, the dilapidated old building that needs like electric and all the things that Egon lists off. So it's completely insufficient for our power needs.
This place is great.
Landing lights of a DC-9 for the high beams.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, wow, good one. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, we've got some elder nerds in the audience.
Nice, good call.
Yeah.
It's funny because in outside I have the Force 4 lights, with the blue lights that go on top of the Ecto. They're actually sitting outside right now. So
exciting stuff. So I think not maybe the best, most elegant segue in the world.
Okay.
But you've been doing this for a long time. And like with a lot of other jobs, like there are other reasons why somebody might do it for decades, but any performer, unless you're in like maybe the top 0.00001%, isn't getting paid enough that's going to eradicate all of the hardships that we go through.
True. So
the question I think is important is, what do you love about your show?
Oh man, when you start a project and you start doing stuff like this, you always you have these aspirations, like, and I don't care who you are, you have aspirations to make it big. If you're doing entertainment, your thing is like, well, I want to make it big, and I want to be able to do these things and wow the people and give them something. Because that's your intent, that's your goal. You know,
Well, sure.
you hope that you get the feedback back. And when I first started, that was it. I always thought about, oh, I could do this. I could go on this show. I could do this and promote myself this way, and I can do all these things.
Yeah.
But then when it came down to it, it was like in later years, I discovered that it wasn't about that for me. It was more of what kind of satisfaction am I going to get giving this entertainment to people? So I love every aspect of my show. I really do. As much as there's areas where I get bored,
yeah,
and it happens with every entertainer. You're like, this sucks, man. I don't want to do this right now. It's like, this is not great.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, it is great. Because how often do you get to say, I'm not sitting in a cubicle beating my head against a keyboard. I'm in front of people doing what inspires me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no. I love every aspect about my show. The only thing that I wish my show wasn't, I wish it was a lot more family friendly. That's the only thing. Like so my predecessor, my mentor, he was a lot more family friendly. He kept it really family friendly.
Yeah.
To the point where it was like, you could bring your smallest child there, and it was an absolute joy. And he was a sword swallower. So to be able to do that without all the innuendos flying out.
And just to be clear, friends, like, I would say that Lynx's show is like PG-13. Like, it's nothing like...
Yeah, it is. And, and I've been trying to scale that back. I've been trying to go, what can I do to make this more family friendly than PG-13?
Okay.
I don't want to say, I want to take the 13 off and put it to PG. So that's the only thing I wish that was different about the show. Hence the new stunts and things like that, because I'm like, those can be family friendly. Those are, there's a lot of play and give in there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you ever get to see the show, which
if you can do,
there's a balloon stunt in there that is definitely not family friendly, but it's enough of it's enough of a joke where it does fly above the kids' heads, and the adults love it. So I play in that gray area quite a bit. So, but that's the only thing I wish. I wish it was just a little bit more family friendly, and that's about it. But I've gotten quite curmudgeon-y these days.
I mean,
I have.
We're all friends here. It's not hard to figure out maybe why.
I've gotten a little jaded over the years.
Well, despite that, I think one of the things that I've definitely seen, and I've seen Lynx's show in enough different places over time in the last year, especially, where whatever you might be thinking or feeling off stage, that doesn't come across on stage. And I've appreciated the rapport that you build with an audience. So
yeah, I try. I think they have this as an entertainer. I used to have this friend that used to tell me, he'd say they have to love you in the first 5 seconds. And if they don't love you in the first 5 seconds, you're going to lose the audience.
Yeah.
And so I always try to keep that in my back pocket as far as, how am I going to interact with these people?
Yeah. Yeah, Lori's got an appreciation. Your interaction with the crowd is amazing, which is definitely true. I mean, if you get to see Lynx, you will notice that he will not only draw a decent-sized crowd, but he'll keep it, which is not it's not a guarantee. Yeah. So, you've got to you not only need to grab them in the first 5 seconds, but you have to keep doing that over and over again.
Yeah.
So.
I have I'm not going to name names, but I do have a stage mate that gets pretty livid when his audience just like peels out and decides they don't want to be there. I mean, he does it in a joking way, but I can tell at the end of the show he's like, God, come on, and I'm like, let him go. It's fine, just let him go. There's another performer when I was doing Scarborough that told me, he was like, because I walked in one day and I felt kind of disheveled, and I was like, I don't want to do this today. And he's like, well, what else you got to do? and it really, like, it brought things in. It was like, well, you're right, I'm not doing anything. He goes, just enjoy what you're doing,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Hi, Ellie.
If you can't be someone's cup of tea, be other people's shot of whiskey, which may be the new tagline.
Yes.
Well, friends, it has been lovely hanging out with you all this Wednesday, and I hope you have enjoyed this illuminating conversation with Lynx Kim. We will be back next week. Well, actually, Lori will be back next week with a delightful best of set of clips, and I will leave that to her to entertain all of you, as well. Lynx and I are going to be on a little bit of an adventure next Wednesday, so I will not be around, but I will be back in 2 weeks' time with some live music. Vid Wegner and Mark Williams will be my guests, so I will be excited to be back for all of that. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Lynx, for inviting us into your home for the evening. And, well, I might not see you all next week, my dears, but Lori will. And the Wandering Bard will be open for business next Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Love you all. Have a good night.
Bye.